So, hey guys, with all that's going on with PewDiePie and his racist actions, I would really like to give out my opinion to you about this topic and what really concerns me the most about it, which I really didn't see many people talking about. Well, many people talking about what concerns me the most because this topic in general is pretty oversaturated at this point, I really know that. And first of all, I'm really sorry about this not related gameplay in the background. Just couldn't get my hands on a camera in time to make this video, and I also have no money to buy one right now, so sorry about that. But anyway, this year PewDiePie has been the center of many controversies, mainly involving Jews, Nazis, white supremacists, which cost his contract with Disney and apparently were the Kickstarter points of the entire adpocalypse. If all of this was not enough, this week he became news once again after saying the N word during a live stream. But I particularly don't really think that Felix deserves all the hate he's getting from so many people and the mainstream media in general. I want to make a point clear right from the beginning. Freedom of speech is the right to say what people don't want to hear. Being allowed to say only what people think it's right for you to say is not freedom at all. It doesn't even make sense to be. Therefore, freedom of speech is about the right to say anything, even racist, homophobic, misogynistic things in general. Regardless, it's important to point out that the word in question, to Felix at least, has a meaning not even close to the meaning it has to Americans in general. It's not even possible for it to have the same impact at least. See, we can't just ignore the fact that he's Swedish, and by that I mean he didn't grow up hearing this word. He didn't grow up learning or understanding what this means and how offensive it can be. English is not his native language. He has a post-childhood understanding, so the word, in his subconscious at least, is not that bad. So in a moment of pure stress, which was the case, when it gets harder to think straight and people tend to say things automatically, it gets harder to understand the impact the word has. And for God's sake, he didn't say that the word has no meaning or it has no impact, or even try to make an excuse for Felix to say it. What I'm saying is that without the culture behind it, the word loses a lot of its meaning and a lot of its impact. And in the live stream, I would risk to say that he was not even talking about a player, but the situation in general, just like when we say shit or anything to put out our anger or a bad feeling about something. Anyway, considering the fact that he had no clue if the other player was really black, it does not make any sense for him to say that as a direct insult to him. Call him racist just because of the word he said, ignoring all the context and variables, is just, what the fuck, dude? It just blurs completely what it really means to be racist, and worse, make racism lose a true impact. Talking about that, try to silence words will only make them bigger and more powerful. In this sense, I really admire iDubbbz's position regarding the use of terms like this. Saying them practically on a daily basis make them lose their offensive meaning and depowers a lot their use. Even more taking consideration the context and why he uses them. For him, it's just the N-word. This attitude really weakens the word. And it is smart to remember that asking people not to do or say something in the internet usually results in quite the opposite. And now allow me to address a point that concerns me a lot using a book as an example. And look, I'm really not trying to use it as a proof for my point, but a deductive possibility, something to at least consider and think about. In the romance 1984, George Orwell, the author, portrays a society surrounded by an extremely oppressive dictatorship, in which no one is allowed to say anything against the government, not even in their own houses. They have cameras and mics everywhere, including people's homes. In this world, the government is putting a lot of effort into making a new language called Newspeak, which consists basically in just removing all possible words from the English language. Their purpose by doing this is just to make it impossible to even think something bad about the state. I know that it sounds a lot crazy, exaggerated, even fanciful, but this is censorship at its finest, and we really need to consider who or what would limit the words we would be allowed to say, or even if it makes any sense to forbid the use of any word. Now, back to the word PewDiePie said. It's necessary for us to consider the meaning of the word besides the bad one. Although Felix disputably said it in the offensive way, This word can be used in other contexts to mean things like dude or even be ironic. If it should be banned from existence, it would also include these other meanings. And to be frank, words are not offensive by themselves. What I mean by that is words can be true, words can be false, and words can have more than one meaning. And it makes absolutely no sense to a person to get offended by something that's true, nor by something that's false. I mean, like someone calls you something you are not. You're just not what the person called you, so why get mad about that? And even words that were once meant to be only offensive, like the word in question, have more than one meaning. It all depends only on the one who is hearing. It doesn't matter how much you want to offend somebody if the one in question just don't care, they won't get offended. It doesn't matter how many words you try to say. And try to limit freedom of speech based on what people find offensive is just crazy to me. It is impossible to determine in an objective way if something is or is not offensive. This criteria is totally stupid and vague. It can be used to silence entire ideas, or even do stupid shit like anyone can say that get offended about criticism about smoking habits, okay? And demand it to be forbidden. And also, this is exactly something that's talked about in another book, Fahrenheit 451, if you want to read it. But it's just an example for you to understand how vague and totally, completely brainless is this criteria. So, all in all, I really agree that PewDiePie needs to take care of what he says, in what terms he uses, mainly because he's very influent, even in how YouTube itself works. He needs to be responsible because his actions will impact the lives of many, many people. But call him racist or even a Nazi is just stupid. And I really fear the fact that most people don't seem to care at all about all the implications in trying to prevent words from being said. And it gets even worse to see people trying to use this kind of situation to push forward their political agenda that consists in hurting the right of free speech. The right of free speech must be protected because it is basically the right to be able to talk freely about any ideas, to discuss and to improve in our moral, political, and reality views. Offensive words maybe need to be fought, but with ideas, not force, not censorship. It's just the only way we can make pacific changes and make improving a constant. Furthermore, the current criteria people want to use to abolish free speech is just not feasible, it's delusional. So I want to end this video by asking a few questions. The first, what criteria could we really use to prevent people from being offensive? I mean, thinking that a word is offensive does not make it offensive. It depends in many, many variables. And do we really need to prevent people from offending each other? I mean, this don't seem to make sense to me. And who will take care of what words can and cannot be said? Someone needs to take care of that. And do we really need to be silenced in any way? I really want to thank all of you people who watched my video and to say sorry for my accent. I'm not an English native speaker, I think you can tell, but I really want to expand on my audience and I think it's the right language to do so. I really want you to subscribe if you liked and like or dislike the video and really put your thoughts on the comment section if you could. And really, really, thank you.